Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you've ever found yourself totally overwhelmed trying to track labor, materials, equipment, and of course, the budget in Microsoft Project, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're diving into resource management and cost planning, but we're going to look at it through a slightly different lens. I want you to imagine that we aren't just clicking around in software, but we're actually building a massive, highly organized virtual storehouse for your project. Literally everything you need to get the job done is going to be perfectly inventoried, priced, and scheduled right here.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is the roadmap, basically our store directory for today. We're going to cover the resource sheet view, the 3 types of resources, planning availability, calculating costs, aligning calendars, and we'll wrap it up with grouping for better reports.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the resource sheet view. This is the foundation of your virtual storehouse. Up until this point in MS Project, you've probably spent most of your time staring at the Gantt chart, right? Looking at timelines. But if you head up to the View menu and click into the Resource Sheet view, it completely flips the software to an inventory focus. Now, what's really interesting here is how much this interface looks exactly like stocking a store's shelves. You've got these specific columns for the resource name, the type of resource, the material label, like, say, bags for cement, and the maximum units available. Think of this as your master ledger, because before a single laborer is assigned to a task, or a single bag of cement is poured, they have to be registered right here. You're defining exactly what your project needs, how much of it you have, and crucially, what it's going to cost.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 3 types of resources. This is where we categorize our inventory.
So, MS Project categorizes everything in your storehouse into 3 distinct buckets. And there is a rock-solid rule of thumb for this. Reused equals work, and consumed equals material. It's that simple. Work resources are things where the effort is calculated over time. A mason, site engineer, a JCB excavator, these are reused. They finish task A, and then they move right on to task B. Material resources, on the other hand, are consumed in the final product. We're talking cement, aggregate, paint. Think about it. Once you use a bag of cement on a foundation, you can't exactly scrape it up and reuse it on the roof, right? And because it's consumed, it always requires a unit of measurement, like a bag, a liter, or a ton. Let's test that logic with a quick quiz. Imagine you bring a water pump onto your construction site to dewater an excavated area. Based on our golden rule, is this water pump a material resource or a work resource? Just think about it for a second. Are you consuming it or are you reusing it? The answer is, it's a work resource. Even though it's a piece of physical hardware, you're bringing it in to pump out water, its hourly effort is being calculated, and then it's either moved to another site or returned. You are reusing it. Now, contrast that with a pump you install permanently at the bottom of a borewell for a building's plumbing system. That pump gets left behind. It's completely consumed in the final product. So that one would be a material resource. See how wonderfully clear that rule of thumb is? But wait, there is actually a third type to know about: cost resources. These are your fixed, lump sum, indirect charges. They don't have a quantity, and they definitely don't have an hourly rate. Think of things like mobilization charges to deliver that JCB to the site, or maybe booking a hotel room for a big project review meeting. It's simply a flat expense that you need to tie directly to a specific activity in your schedule, just so your overall project budget reflects reality. All right, Section 3, planning resource availability. Let's talk about setting daily limits. To set the physical limits of our storehouse, we use the max units column. So let's say you type the number 25 into this column for your labor resource. A really common misconception here is thinking this means you only have 25 total laborers for the entire duration of a massive multi-month project. But actually, scratch that. That is entirely wrong. As the source material explicitly points out, maximum unit is strictly about daily availability. Inputting 25 means you have a maximum bandwidth of 25 laborers per day. This is absolutely crucial, because if your schedule ends up having 3 overlapping tasks on, say, a random Tuesday, and they require 10 laborers each, meaning you need 30 total, MS Project is going to throw a red flag. It'll warn you that your resource is over-allocated. You planned for 25, but you scheduled 30. It's a total lifesaver for keeping your project planning grounded in reality. Which brings us to Section 4. Calculating project costs. Time to look at the price tags. Okay, we've got our inventory and our daily limits set. Now we need to talk about price tags. So the crucial point here is how cleanly the software separates total costs. You've got your direct costs, the standard rate for normal working hours, and the overtime rate if you schedule them for extra hours. But then it brilliantly allows for micro-level indirect costs. There's a cost per use field. For example, if you buy a cup of tea for every laborer every single time they're deployed, you can assign a cost per use, and the software calculates all of that automatically. Finally, if you have broad, flat costs like monthly electricity or site setup, you can add those as fixed costs directly in the Gantt chart cost table. And entering these rates is incredibly flexible. By default, MS Project assumes you're typing in an hourly rate. But if you pay your laborers $500 a day, you literally just type 500/D. If you have a site supervisor on a monthly salary of, say, $35,000, you just type 35,000/Mo. The software then looks at your project calendar, maybe that's 26 working days a month, and does the math instantly to divide that monthly salary into a daily cost for whichever tasks that supervisor is assigned to. It is so powerful and saves you a ton of manual calculation. Next up is Section 5, aligning calendars correctly. It's all about syncing our schedules. Look, if you have a beautifully stocked storehouse, but the doors are locked when the workers actually show up, you have a major problem. To avoid your project stretching out just because the software incorrectly assumes nobody works on Saturdays, you absolutely must follow a strict chronological order. First, create your specific project calendar. Second, go into project settings and set it to use that calendar. And only then do you create your project tasks and assign that calendar to your resources. Your resources basically have to be available during the exact same schedule that the activities are planned for. And hey, if you find yourself needing to assign your custom calendar, let's call it road call, to a massive list of like 50 different resources, don't panic. The source gives a fantastic little UI tip. You just select the calendar from the drop-down menu on the very first row, grab the tiny dot in the corner of that cell, and just press and drag it all the way down, exactly like you would in Excel. Boom, the whole shebang is instantly synchronized to the project clock.
Finally, Section 6, grouping for better reports. Let's turn all this data into actionable insights.
When you're dealing with a massive project, your resource sheet can start to look like total chaos. But you manage a project by looking at the big picture, right? And this brilliantly illustrates how categorizing helps. By using the Group By tool, you can assign every single resource a category label. Instead of looking at masons, helpers, and carpenters individually, you just group them under manpower. Supervisors go under engineer, cement and aggregate go under material, and your JCBs go under equipment. When you view your cost tables with this grouping turned on, you instantly see your total budget broken down by these exact slices. You immediately know without a doubt how much of your project budget is tied up in equipment versus raw materials. And honestly, the best part, grouping is totally customizable based on your specific business requirements. You aren't just stuck with standard categories. Let's say you're supplying certain materials and specific equipment directly to a subcontractor. We'll call them Contractor A. Well, you can just create a custom group just for them. Then, with a couple of clicks, you can isolate exactly what Contractor A is costing you, what their usage is, and their specific start and finish times. It is top-tier management reporting built right into your resource ledger. So, we've walked through setting up your foundational ledger, identifying resource types, capping availability, automating those complex direct and indirect costs, syncing up the calendars, and finally organizing all that chaos into actionable reports. My final question to you is this: how will taking the time to build a perfectly categorized, highly structured virtual storehouse transform the way you execute your next complex project? Think about it. Start applying these structured techniques, and I guarantee your project budgets will never catch you by surprise again. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy planning.
If you want to master Microsoft Project with practical construction examples, join the online professional certificate course of Onyx. Learn from industry experts and build job-ready planning skills. Limited seats available. Join now.